Hey guys, yeah, 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Welcome back in if you are just joining. We are back downside once again, unfortunately. Coming off some data this morning, remember we got import-export prices that were still signifying, things are not where they need to be as far as the overall economy is concerned. Then Michigan sentiment at 10 o'clock backs that up as well, still pointing towards both 1-year and 5-year inflation coming in hotter than expected. So the market back to the downside to end off the week here. This is crude oil, however. Definitely not back to the downside. 5% in positive territory, although it seems to be struggling right now at $86, but all kinds of volume still on the buy side as we head towards the end of the pit session over in Chicago at 2:30 Eastern. We'll get futures wrapped up for the day. Yeah, Plug Power with that note on this government contract going to be a quote unquote a part of this $7 billion hydrogen deal coming through from the government. We'll see how much that equates to, but a little bit of a pop there anyways for Plug. That's how the overall market is setting up right now with a couple hours to go. Still pretty evenly divided. Again, this board signifying the size of the actual square is market cap related, not the overall move for the individual stock on the day. You can see energy companies here still leading the way as far as gainers are concerned. This group looking pretty good so far heading into the weekend. Banks still mostly positive. Worth a note there, BAC downside to the tune of 1% ahead of earnings coming up next week. JP Morgan, obviously Wells Fargo, both out this morning with their reports. Better than expected across the board for them. Some strength down here as well. Healthcare stocks, some of the pharma names, Eli Lilly notably back to the downside after that earlier pop on that Ozempic, or NVO came out with that headline suggesting they were increasing their full year sales guidance right through to the end of 2023 based on demand for these weight loss pills. Tech stocks right across the board in the red. They've been that way all day long as far as inflation worry dragging this group down. Meta, the worst off still, 3+. AMD, I guess, as well, 3.3%. Anyways, lots to consider here. That's that note on Plug. If you missed it early on. Lots to consider here as we head towards the end of the day. Basically chopping around near session lows, although a little bit of buy volume there coming off of the lows. If you're with us in the pre-market, again, we were touching on bank earnings to officially get us kicked off as far as earnings season is concerned. That was one of the highlights. JP Morgan's Q3 markets and security services revenue, $7.7 billion. That was a bit of a standout. One of the only numbers that was actually down on a year-over-year basis to the tune of 2%. Everything else, though, pretty good. If you go back and have a look at some of the comments that came through as far as their earnings call, however, was a lot of cautionary talk on the economy mostly and what is still to come as far as economic worry is concerned. But JP Morgan, as we saw, one of the standouts here for the day. That's the overall market. But JP Morgan individually, one of the standouts here today, guys.
No question about it, although it has not been immune to giving up the ghost, as it were. When everything falls, when you get a day like today, even the strongest names, unless you're Dollar General, which is just grinding higher, we were discussing this. Like, if I'm talking in the past tense, like, is it ground higher, or did it grinded higher this morning, or did it ground higher? Like, I feel like ground is grammatically correct, but that just sounds very weird.
Yeah.
So you guys tell me. Sometimes I like to get it right. But like, the market has been grinding lower, and eventually JP Morgan succumbed to that as well. But I'll shout out to that 150 level on JP. We should have had the break, but we were looking at other things, and I didn't want to trade during the call. I've said it like 3 times today. No point saying it again, but I just did. 150 did hold. You had a nice little bounce. Eventually it gave it up. Hey, the 148 level is still in play. There's that. That's the previous breakout price. If you look at the daily, you got the 50 period there. You have the previous resistance level just underneath. So you kind of like the chance that it could make a bounce here. So everything was more or less good on the earnings, but it has not been a very good day overall. Like anyone will tell you, like, the whole higher for longer is a mixed bag for the banks, and JP Morgan does trade at a bit of a premium. You're seeing the market's love for it today, but even this name couldn't hold on. If there's going to be a bounce, I feel like I like that 148 for a shot. I'm a bit skittish wanting to buy any of these bottoms. We've already bounced off the lows, and this is still hanging right around that 148. Like, the market bounced off the lows. I'm like, why isn't this already stair-stepping to the upside? So I'm going to be very cautious. The shorts paid out this morning. If you had them, great. You're laughing. And fighting the long was just not the way to go this morning. I look at anything that was not good for me, and you know, that was basically grinding some longs on now I'm saying grinding too much, on AMD, but eventually flipped short to be able to get that back, and thank you to guys for pointing out the error of that way, and it was really easy to make the shorts work. So be cautious. I'm not chomping at the bit to buy some bottoms this afternoon.
Yeah, no, similar review from me there. That 149, looking left, we covered some of these levels, 149, 150, both kind of great areas to interact with out the open. But when those areas kind of failed to follow through, we saw that 153, and then a little bit of a step down to 150, 150s, and then you can't even hold VWAP very well. You kind of retest some of those same prices, kind of coming back in to this consolidation base that we had going into the open off of the earnings report. So I think interesting levels being, looking left right away, definitely that 149 and 148, but a little bit of a weekly resistance potentially turn support as well at the 147, which was also kind of like this consolidation range low right before the open as well. So I think that's definitely interesting.
All right, some of the individual energy names having quite the day. Here's XOM, 3.2%. One of the top performers as far as that board that we were looking at earlier is concerned. As we saw when we came on there at 2 o'clock, 5% for crude oil today. It is, it looks like anyway, struggling a little bit here at 86 bucks. That's the chart right now. We're actually through it once again. 86.04 currently. Just under half an hour to go here in the pit session to wrap up the week. But wow, what a day here for crude oil.
Yeah, global supply issues in focus again, Brendo, as the U.S. Treasury Department looks to sanction 2 oil transporters, one from the Kuwait and the other one from the Emirates, for carrying Russian oil that is priced higher than the $60 per barrel cap that was put in by the G7 and the EU as well as Australia. So we have to wait and see whether this supply issue has a bit larger reverberations on the overall market.
This just goes to show, though, it's more a macro type of story today versus individual story. I'm just going through some of these other names. I mean, CVX, 1.9%. So the individual producers of the crude oil not necessarily benefiting, whereas crude oil itself still just a monstrous day today.
XOM is up 3%.
Wow.
So it's not ZOM. And I'll tell you this much, for sure, on a day like today, old J.R. Ewing and Ewing Oil will be up like 5-6 points for sure. He'd just be sitting there with a cigar, absolutely chilling out. It's been like what else is good today? Like, what are you going to point at that's been good? Like, nothing. I mean, energy's been pretty solid. I thought it was going to be a 107 dip buy. I felt that was still going to be the case. Like, you've had that opportunity on JPM where it's been coming down at the open, and obviously into 105 2 days ago. But yesterday there were some dip buy opportunities, and it looked a little bit heavy. I thought we'd see the same thing, and it just never materialized, which is off to the races. But there were plenty of other trades to have. So I do I like this. It already made its bounce. I don't see any reason why you're not carrying through. It's regaining the 200 period today. Next stop, that 50 period next week. So we'll be looking at that above the 200 period moving average. You can see that there's been some give and take when it's reclaimed it before. Bit of a difference here. Okay, I don't want to read too much into this, but this thing made a bearish move to the downside when it had a golden cross, and then it holds support. Like, if that's a nice little lag move and you can hold out on oil futures, like XOM could be challenging those teens again. And I just want to favor the long side next. I'm not saying you go long every single day. Like, you got to look for a setup. It's the same thing as, like, I wouldn't just punch short, although it would work. I wouldn't punch short a firm every single day, but I'm looking short until it gets to a certain level. I'm looking longs on XOM. This afternoon, I don't know, on a Friday, oil futures closed, buying at these highs. You're kind of sitting in the middle of nowhere, and you do run into resistance. Like, this 110.50 was a bit of a gap close level that has significance because it closed 2 days in a row between 110.50 and 111. That's a very tight area that I think you see some resistance when you have consecutive closes up there. So I don't necessarily love the long up here. Maybe there's a cheeky short off of the highest close of the week. If you got up there, that's close to 111. Maybe that's the trade, because A couple of closes at that price level makes some sense if you're looking for a scalp trade in the afternoon. If we go another $1, maybe I like that short at 111 now that I'm looking at this 15-minute longer.
Yeah, I think something to notice as well. I think we pointed this out in the morning as well. That 105 kind of area defense, we saw that strong selling twice in a row in the past couple of weeks. Just the first week of August, right here. Sorry, the first week of October. You come in 105 holds, you pop back in, gap up, can't really get past that 112 from before. Kind of sell off pretty vigorously right there, back to the downside, holds at 105, and now we're reverting that move once again. So the curious thing to me will be that are we stuck in that range from that 105 to that 112? We see on the weekly that XOM has been kind of pretty choppy and doing a larger picture churn here, Neil. Take a look at this 120 to 100 kind of just bouncing around. So yeah, definitely this week in the middle. I don't necessarily have an idea for where you could potentially take this. The 105 longs were nice. You're right underneath that 112 resistance from before, just a little bit of a core as well of this chop. So I think going forward in the next couple of weeks, I think these two prices right here, this 100 and this 120, definitely going to be interesting as it has been chopping in between both of these levels for this whole year. Yeah.
All right, Netflix chopping around here at day lows right now. If you missed it this morning, we were discussing pre-market because of, this is just one of a couple negative notes this morning on Netflix, suggesting that annual revenue per user, shout out to Sean and ARPU, fully priced in, quote unquote, fully priced in through the end of 2024 for Netflix. Not a good look.
Yeah, and Adaria and I were talking about this during the midday show. I said to her, I'm like, what would you rather prefer? To have a one-off tariff given to you per month, or to have that a lower tariff and then, much more in the way of advertising dollars coming in because you're such an active viewer. So it looks like as if the password sharing crackdown resulted in more non-ad accounts than they had anticipated. They were anticipating a lot of those users that would be added after the password sharing crackdown would side with the cheaper tariff and more ads, but hasn't panned out that way yet, Brendan.
I mean, just because they're cheap and don't want to pay period doesn't mean they won't actually pay the full price when they're forced to. So anyway, October 18th. So that's next week too. We get Netflix and Tesla next Wednesday, guys.
What's the worst that could happen? I mean, I don't know. I've been sort of thinking, like for Netflix especially, maybe not so much for Tesla, but Netflix, which has had a pretty decent run on the year. If you look at, it probably starts from mid last year when you made that bottom around that 200, but you're cracking down off the 200 period moving average, which is a pretty big trend reversal for Netflix. It is hard to like where this is headed, and it's holding on to 353, which is kind of this random zone here in the middle of May. And if it holds that's great. That's the first sign of maybe finding a consolidation that can break this trend reversal. But the trend is your friend until the end. It's a great move up, but this one it's just bleeding, man. I don't know where you'll like the longs here. 300 makes a little bit of sense. This like the 300 teen area, that was a pretty big accumulation zone in May. And everyone always says, like, why do these levels matter? Like, it matters when there's a lot of transacting at those prices, right? Like, that matters. Like, there was on the way up, look at the accumulation at $330 on Netflix, and then after it finished accumulating, look at the move up after that. So when it gets to 330, people that say that historical prices don't matter, I'm like, that's fine. People traded at those levels. People bought that crap up, and they're long at those prices. So it matters when it gets back to them. And if it cracks 330, reasonably speaking, some people get out of 300. Maybe they like it to this 285. Like, you're getting into some pretty key levels if we don't hold this 353 on Netflix. As far as an afternoon trade, it's way too much of an inside day on Netflix. Like, when Netflix is doing this, I said this during lunch money, like, I don't like Netflix if it's trading like this. Like, what is a $3 range here? Like, that's way too tight. Like, it needs to break out, break down. Speaking of breaking down, I'm just going to change subject randomly because Super SPAC Man brought this up in the chat. Shopify down 5% at 51. 51 is thank you very much, daily chart. All right. Trade ID is going to have to come to the rescue on this one because there's no chance I'm going to ignore this on shop here. So let's just bring my daily chart from Trade Ideas, and this is why 51 matters. It matters. Flat bottom breakage. It's taking it out right now. And I know it's wicked this bottom before. Maybe it needs to take out 50, but the market is weak. It's 5% down. It could do worse. And it's starting to break away. Like it bounced off it the first time, but now it's looking like it wants to carry through. I'm hesitant always to short bottoms at this time of day. Have been waiting for this level, so I might just take a little bit of a shot, like wet the beacon here, see if I can't give it to like the 20s or something along those lines. But Shopify, I don't think I trade Netflix today, but this Shopify break, I'd hate myself if I didn't try it. It's a weird time of day for a flat bottom break and a weird move to take it. But if we can get back to this 51, kind of fail it again, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, so that Netflix, we talked about this in the morning. Kind of a bigger picture play happening here. A lot of exhaustive action right here off of the 500 attempt in what is this, July. You kind of come in strong selling off of the 440. This is just a 30-minute chart. Now take a look at some of the action we've had in the past couple of weeks, right? Wick, exhaustion, and then now you're bleeding off, and now you're going sideways, kind of a consolidation range. So like, here's the thing. Netflix has gone sideways like this multiple times before on the way down, so I think this may be potential for more of the same here. The market's dropping, sure, it's not really catching a sell as heavy as the market. That's definitely an interesting point to be had, and a hold above 350 is very interesting as well. But the fact that this name has been kind of selling off and has that selling pressure in it right there, and as recent as October 10th, you saw that crazy sell-off right there. I think this is going to be more continuation. But yeah, in terms of the day trade, Netflix right here, just a bit of a chop and churn consolidation. Let's throw some VWAP on there as well. Holding underneath VWAP for the most part, right? You kind of have a bit of a triple bottom here at that 352, but you can argue that we've already made a high and have a lower highs kind of topping out here at that 355. So while it's stuck in the range, sure, you can take that range, but other than that, I think this still has some room to go. But what do I know? Let's see what decision Netflix makes off of this range, either going into the end of the day or going into next week, as the weekly on this chart has definitely been quite heavy there, Neil.
Trending a lot. All right, let's talk about some Chinese ADRs, all downside. Here's JD. Among the worst off, although it looks like it's been more positive than the rest throughout the intraday session. We had a couple, I think it was 2 or 3 negative notes this morning, including a downgrade on JD pointing to softer demand to come.
Yeah, Morgan Stanley echoing exactly what you're saying. They're dropping their price target to 33 from 55 and saying, the Chinese consumer has been squeezed and they don't see a good forecast for this one, especially how much they've been growing. Let's look at what they were doing here. For second quarter revenue, they grew 8% year over year. That's well off the 36% that they were growing for the last 10 years on an annualized basis. So we'll have to wait and see what the consumer does in China. We get retail numbers from China October 18th. Surprise, surprise, on Tesla's reporting day as well.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Look for Tesla after the close, obviously. We'll get typically any of those numbers come out very, very early in the morning. 3% here, guys, downside, but we're still kind of chopping around here at the highs.
Yeah, it managed to bounce today, but really when you look at the daily chart, like JD has just been absolutely slashed left, right, and center, and it's been an absolute nightmare as well. Shout out to the fact that it's also Friday the 13th, so we're getting some puns in there. This stock flat bottom broke, but it gapped the level. That's the problem with these. I always say this. I complain about Chinese ADRs when you get a good setup, that they're going to break that and you're not going to get a chance to actually trade the level in the open market off the open. You might break it late in the day. You might have a small move, but decent chance when this happens, it's just going to gap lower because that's what they do. They trade in Asian markets. I tried shorting it off the first range I could see, which was just the pre-market lows, or pre-market highs, I should say. It broke out. I just got out of it. I'm like, this isn't working. Short everything else because it is. And I thought maybe if it got back into that 28 level, we'd take a shot at that. nothing doing. Now it's sitting at the highs, and I'm not going to trade. Not when the market's moving around here, I don't think the Chinese ADR is the place to be this afternoon. And if anything, the one that you wanted today was probably to take a shot at Alibaba at 85. So 85 was a good level for Baba in terms of, that was the best close, I think. Yeah, down here anyways, it had the 85 close, the best one to work off of. It gapped away from it, kind of was testing a little bit higher, and then rejected that 85 close going back to Monday. Like Monday's close prices ended up being critical on a lot of stocks. And if I wasn't so fixated on trading JD, I think maybe I would have been open to the notion of shorting Alibaba through 85, which I was not. So congratulations if you shorted that name. I was focused on looking for the setup on JD.com. It didn't get in there, but a lot of other things did. I am in Shopify, by the way. And just to clarify, when I was saying I'm hesitant to short things at the low of the day at this time, it's just a matter of when you're day trading, there's like 90 minutes left in the session. The stock is, the market's bouncing off of the lows. The trend is your friend, I get it. But it's just a different entry point when you're shorting something breaking down at the low, as Shopify is here. Like I wanted confirmation that it was weak under 51. I just got it, so I entered off of 80s. And maybe I want to get a little bit more if I can at maybe the 90 level, and then just give it just above that 51. It's much different shorting that than when you're stair-stepping to the downside and you're joining it. Hey, short the pops. Like I'm not shorting the pop here. It's breaking the low of the day, with only 90 minutes to go. So it needs to have some serious follow-through. I like shorting the pops on the trend, but this is just a very different strategy. Sometimes it's how you get in, but I love the level, so I'm going to take it anyways and give it a shot.
Yeah, no, I was looking at that earlier. Take a look at this bounce that we had off the pre-market lows. I think that's the only thing I really see, again, in retrospect, right? So you had to really be there to potentially assess that trade. Kind of comes in and wicks that pre-market low action and then straight up to the upside, breaking through VWAP, breaking through pre-market highs as well. I think a little bit of a reversion off that gap down was definitely in play out the open there when it can't really follow through to the downside right there, and then now you're just chopping and churning around VWAP. So yeah, I definitely agree with Neil. Definitely better places and better names to put on some risk on the day.
I saw you guys were talking about this e-hang during the midday show once again. Almost all the way back. We may get there. 1870, 1880 was that gap fill. If you zoom out a little bit on this thing, if you missed it this morning, they got a passenger carry license for that eVTOL. Is it a vehicle, I guess? Device? Whatever you want to call it. Pretty cool looking anyway.
Whatever it is, you and I were talking off camera about this. I think that what's really going to hold these ones back is the range that these things can fly. So if we can really get some good range and actually be able to carry passengers to and from a location, we may see the expansion of this. But obviously safety issues are of a concern. This is a Chinese regulator, by the way, that gave them the go-ahead, not a North American regulator. But on this side of the border, we have Joby, which is also pushing for the same thing. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, I was mentioning this morning, Kathy Wood getting into that other one doing this as well. I was trying to find, okay, so here we go. This is going back to 2020. They were saying their 216 autonomous eVTOL had a range of 31 entire kilometers.
I don't mean to laugh, but we need more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to completely crap on it. This morning I was like, I'm not getting on that until a boatload of other people have done it for a decent amount of time. But there's got to be other applications for this that are probably going to make more sense in cities, like little short jaunts here. I guess there's something here, but it's a cautionary tale with this. I think we were saying this morning, just don't worry about dollars or about cents. You got to look for dollar moves. And they ended up being to the downside. I was kind of waiting for it to make a breakout off a support level that just never happened. To its credit, this isn't necessarily horrible on the daily chart. I mean, the weekly doesn't look very good, but the daily chart doesn't look that bad. If you it's going to close above the 50-period moving average unless something crazy happens. So yes, it gave back this breakout move, but it still got support in theory down to like $18, $19. So it's not. I wouldn't say it's like dead, but would you want to trade this today? I don't know. Like if you shorted this flat bottom break at 20, that's actually not bad. But this is not a lot of liquidity. I'm watching the tape right now. I don't think I've seen a lit print. I've seen on my entire tape, I see one lit print. This is just easier for me to do this. Like, okay, 100 shares just went off on like Island, or it's not Island, it's like NASDAQ now. And there's 100 there, but like most of it's like a lot of dark stuff has been going off. Just not a lot of activity happening for a stock that that's already moved like $7 in the open market and then double that in the pre-market and up 12% when it was the high flyer this morning. I'm not seeing a heck of a lot to dig into. It's at a support level if you like it, but I don't want it. Super SPACman, I didn't actually check. I didn't check the cost of locates because I wasn't really interested in the short. Obviously, if I was, it would have been an even better day. Let's be honest. But yeah, I can double check. Like as Obi's talking, I can go see what the locates cost. My guess is it's not that expensive.
Yeah, we talked about this in the morning. Kind of a nice fader if you were there in the pre-market there and got that continuation out the open. And it seems like you're going to get that follow through of that continuation as well. As we broke through that 20, we were talking about that 20, kind of an interesting level as well. And I was like, if that 20 breaks, looking left, we definitely have that 19 right there, and take a look at where we're at right now. After that level breaks, after that consolidation breaks, you get that follow through and continuation to the downside. Definitely a little bit of market pressure as well, but knowing this name and kind of what it does there, may or may not be doing its own thing as well. Definitely a bit of a short to the short side. The reaction is definitely an overreaction. Again, retrospect, right? It was an overreaction, and now we're kind of correcting back into prices. Like yesterday's close, right there at the 17, and then the 19 as well. Kind of both interesting prices. If this kind of continues to go down, think about it. And anybody and everybody who was long off of this news is currently underwater on EHang.
Yeah, there we go. We're through the rundown. We're going to get to some of the trades because the market is heading back to the low of the day. Hold on to your butts, hold on to your shorts, but let's go to the desk and take care of some business.
As always, Trade Ideas bringing you the rundown, guys. If you haven't done so yet, check out their brand new web app version. Tons of cool stuff in here with or without a live account. You get charts, you get news, you get the details of each individual company and more. Trade-ideas or trade-ideas.com. Use TraderTV20, bottom right corner there, TraderTV20. As always, get you 20% off over at Trade Ideas.
Into the short game. It is one of these days. It is an arrow down day. I don't like that one.
I don't really.
There we go.
Just like you said, I don't like shorts on the bottom. In the market, of course, but
they're tricky. They're tricky. But actually,
someone got that.
Oh, for the love of! I was trying not to, because okay, fine.
All right, so we got a little bit of a backside move today, and what am I doing? I did fight the short. I fought the long. We had the shorts in the morning. Some great prices. I did get aggressive in and around this 132.5, and yeah, we're all the way down to 129. Again, plays more on the fact that I have to get much better. The journey is definitely long, and we're nowhere close to even beginning, I feel. But yeah.
You got to start with.
You got to start somewhere.
Well, I mean, you got to start with that was a great entry on the short up at that 131 area. It is what it is. Like sometimes you don't hang on to a trade and it ends up working out. Speaking of flat bottom breaks, or I don't know, shorting things at the low of the day. ARM is at 50 again. Now, I didn't actually, we talked about this during lunch money, but like it happened at 12 and I was actually at the desk and not at my trade desk, so I'm not gonna have that trade. It came back there a second time, and by that time, I was really more thinking breakdown than buy. So I didn't do the dip buy at 50, which has worked multiple times. This would be the fourth time we test this level. So if I didn't take it the second time or the third time, I don't think I want to take it the fourth time. I think I'm now looking for this to flush through 50. And if you're wondering why this matters, well, this is ARM. It hasn't been trading very long. It's a recent IPO, and that is 50. If this breaks, wouldn't you want exposure to the potentiality of a flush to the downside? I think I would. A couple of things that I am in, I'm still kind of looking at that. I think we talked about this one, I think earlier in the day, maybe that Intel was breaking down. I don't know. Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I feel like if I didn't, then that's on me, because Intel was off a support level. It broke. at 36 quarter. It then held that same level. So once that was confirmation, short that into the low. I didn't get a reload because I thought maybe you'd carry the VWAP again. It did not. So I'm just holding on to the last of my Intel. And I still have that affirm trade. I hate you, Shopify. I still have that affirm trade. Didn't add off VWAP. That was a mistake. Like, this is when I was like, oh, I like Intel here. Two ways you can play this. Like obviously, I could just add to Affirm, but Intel was setting up, and that's what I liked at the time, so it is what it is. But Affirm's still working to the downside. I'm just holding on to what I had from earlier. If it gets above 18, I get out, but there goes Shopify. It's always tricky shorting at these bottoms. It's not an easy way to do it. I think sometimes, like it's still the trend, and sometimes when you take that breakdown, the curl's the better trade, and you kind of get stuck in the middle doing both, which is pretty much where I am now. Now if it works, that's fine. But obviously getting these types of curls when you're playing the trend is an easier way to go. But when a significant level breaks, I just want to be involved in case it flushes. I don't want it going without me, so I want a piece of the action. If it goes right away, great. If it doesn't, then I'll just get the rest via the curl trade. So that's where I'm at right now. And no, Tony Price, we cannot save the market with Frank, unfortunately. Frank, who has the ability to rally the markets when he does come on, he wasn't on yesterday. He was feeling under the weather, but he doesn't come on Friday. But I can tell you, we're going to do the after show just like normal, and Mr. Noss is going to be on joining me. So we're still going to do the recap show. Sean's gone for a long weekend for himself. He's going to be doing a lot of work at the rink. Obi's in here for him. I'll be doing the recap show at the end, and we're going to have Michael Noss, boss, coming through for Trader Talk, just like we do. That's how we roll. What else we got here? Sassy's making some moves. Mr. Long Shorts telling me that SA, this isn't dead. You know what? It really didn't break down the 5 level. Felt like it did. Liquidity grab right into support. And look at this. You have something testing VWAP that isn't Dollar General, or above VWAP that isn't Dollar General. It's this bad boy. Not finished yet. This is your classic. Where have we seen this before? I can't for the life of me think where I've seen this before. Reverse split, double bottom, breakout, and then once it does nonsense, it continues to nonsense to the upside. I don't know a better word for it, but if it can hold VWAP, I think you go dip and rip on this thing. Just make sure you always have a stop. I wouldn't want to hold this over the weekend, not the way the rest of these have played out. Like after TPST and the like, I don't necessarily, it's TPST, Neil. After the way the Tempest went, I don't think that I would want to be dancing with these and sort of risking the big pullback. Tempest catching a bit of a bid, but you saw what happened to this if you didn't take profit. Sassy, I feel the same way. Oh, it's about 20. Oh, okay, Ryan. John just asked where my stop is on shop. So generally speaking, if I'm stair-stepping and playing the stair-step, there's only 2 ways I like it. I either like it to the previous hump, like this previous top, or I'm trying to enter it like here and giving it to like the big rollover. Because we're at this bottom and because 51's a big level, I'm a little tight to 51 just in the teens because it could be a liquidity grab underneath that flat bottom break, which is not good, right? Like that 51's a big level. It's a wall of support on the daily, which is not loading. But it's a wall of support on that 51. Maybe I can do that. Like if you're liquidity grabbing underneath this 51 level, you could shoot to the upside and be at the half and at the 52s real quick. So I'm always pretty cautious at that big level. Like I want to be in there for the big flush, get some half, get some dollars, hold on for the moon. But I never want to give it too much room. Allow it to come up. If I still like the short, you can short it a bit higher. That's just the way to go. Mara's a falling wedge apparently as well. I haven't looked too much at crypto, but if this market is going to bounce, got to be attentive to some of these shorts. Yeah, so we could get stopped out there. Intel as well, though. Got to watch out for this. It's back above that 36 level. Like I said, we're just hanging on. I feel pretty decent about this one. Like I might just, I only have 10% left, and I'm really just thinking I should be willing to re-enter this one at 36.25, almost at that absolute top. I'm thinking reload on Intel. I'm thinking obviously trail out on Affirm, and I do not want that shop getting too far away from that teen level. So it's a pretty tight stop on Shopify.
Yeah, so I got stopped out of that short right there at that kind of that structure break through, and then I saw a little bit of a stalling, so I did get back in short underneath the 130. Having a little bit of a trouble here getting through that 130, but the pop definitely happening there for a little bit, kind of some strength back to the upside there. The SNQ still kind of making these lower highs as well. So let's see how far Amazon can really get through this 130 or not. We've seen there's been some great prices to get in short. We got aggressive in the 132 halves. Had this, I guess we can cover a little bit of this trade right here. I did get a little tilted because I did miss the short here. Had these entries for the short, cover it all into 132, and then catch the long because I'm like, well, I missed the short. That was great. Trying to catch the long, the other side of the trade works out for a bit, and I'm like, there's no failure to follow through. And when it comes back in, and I'm fighting for the long, this is definitely a piece of that degenerate trading that I'm trying to get out of my system. And yeah, so we fought the long. I really like this area right here. But definitely I was 100% wrong for holding and being that aggressive into here. We get capitulated into the move for the time being, and then we get a little pop back up into 31. But we continue to fade off as well. Take a look at this rejection off that 130, Neil. It's a good thing I got back in the short because these lick grabs, oh boy, these lick grabs, Neil. The phase is unreal.
For the life of me, I can't picture any situation in where there was a liquidity grab in which having a tight stop was the wrong decision. But I was just telling John in the chat, was like, well, how do you avoid getting wicked out of moves at levels that algos are probably going to hunt? I go, the answer is you don't necessarily. It's like there's two types of trades. The ones where you're willing to put up the wider stop so it doesn't happen to you, and the ones where I don't necessarily love the level as much, or I just feel it's too much risk down here relative to what the futures are doing, that it's not worth it to have the wider stop. And so I already said that I was leaning toward the latter, so I get the wick out. And I don't know if I want that re-entry. So David Beach, will you explain liquidity grab? Sure. Very quickly here. This is easy because, hey, this probably just happened to me, or like maybe it happened to me. I don't know if it did. So I'm going to draw the line on Shopify. That's your 51 support area. There was a dip underneath this in pre-market. That's just nonsensical pre-market action. In the open market, 51 is the low. So what happens here is it breaks 51, which is a big stop level for a lot of people, does a little bit of volume underneath there, runs a bunch of stops, but then it immediately can possibly regain level. Now here it's battling the level, but the idea is the liquidity grab is it breaks down, does some volume underneath that 51, and then immediately regains. So if you think is the algo, that 51 level is only going to have a few thousand shares on it. What you're able to do is run that stop by selling a few thousand shares, have a bunch of people start triggering out. It does legit volume underneath for like 10, 15 minutes or whatever it is, and you're accumulating underneath 51, all the while with the intention of just being long at that support level. But instead of just sitting on the bid long in front, somebody is accumulating shares underneath, grabbing the liquidity of everybody jumping into shorts or panicking out of their long, and then there's less people on the offer. They have people trapped short if it breaks higher to give them liquidity on the way out of their trade. That's a liquidity grab. You would have seen it on Meta at underneath $300 recently, possibly happening here. I'm not saying it's happening here in Shopify. It happened this morning on AMC. I was trading AMC, and the same thing was happening. There we go. Like pre-market low was 1065. It broke it to the downside. It then tried to regain the pre-market low. As it was breaking out above, like some people would look at that as a reversal. Well, it was just liquidity grab above that price to go back into the short trade. AMD was doing a very similar thing this morning, and I caught the wrong end of it because I was trading off the 107 level with absolutely no success, and it was liquidity grab above 107. It would get back above, and all the buying above was just a trap. Like it was a short above that price. Eventually, after only executing off of 07, I just decided, and I was prompted by the chat to examine my strategy, and then realized I'm doing it like an idiot. I should be taking liquidity grab short because that's the trend, and that's what worked. You shorted it above 107, which is the obvious key price, and then it worked to the downside. I re-entered at 106 and had this out, which I don't really love, but it turned from a bad stock to recognizing that basically someone was bamboozling you in either direction off of 107, which, let me go to the 15-minute because I think this tells a better story. So 107 was the key level this week. It was Monday's close, 107, Tuesday's breakout, Wednesday's support. So it's a big level at 107, but all they're doing is running stops at 07, going 30, 40 cents the other way. So if you don't play that game and only long underneath, you get some profit. Only short above, then you get much more profit. That's what a liquidity grab is. It's just sometimes the level has so much liquidity around it that you can't play that game. But when there's only a few thousand shares to trigger everybody's stop order that's obvious, the algos do what algos do, and they can run your stop. Sometimes you have to accept that as a cost of doing business. Other times you can adjust your strategy and then take advantage of what you're seeing in front of you. Who has an advantage of a liquidity grab? Big money, like a whale does.
Yeah.
Right, like somebody who has the ability to break a big support or resistance level with an amount of shares that is a fraction of what they want as a position. Now, most traders, you can't do that because you're not going to, in order for you to break 107 on AMD all by yourself, well, you're not trying to accumulate a position 10 times that size on the other side of it. That's not the average person. Like that's a big algo desk or a hedge fund or whomever it might be. It's a whale. Like it's whales that do that kind of thing, and the average trader's not a whale. All you can do is trade your own strategy or maybe adjust to that when you notice it. Like I was able to notice it. Actually, I didn't notice this on AMD. You guys noticed it on AMD. I just made the execution. It was other people. It was everyone else telling me that no, the better short is up here, not 107. So the level was right, but the rest was nonsense. With AMC, we are not whales. Yeah, I mean, fee rhymes with AMC. Yeah, the average pro, I'm not a whale. Like nobody that trades on a prop desk like this, and depending on the stock you trade, like on AMD, you're not going to be a whale. Like I'd have to trade something really small to be that. Like you'd be a penny stock every now and then that you could whale on, I suppose, if that's even a thing. Super SPAC, man, need to rewind and re-listen. I talk too fast sometimes. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. I feel like there are others who can talk more slowly. Like Obi does a great job of explaining things. I'm just kind of, the mind moves a little bit fast, and I think I talk a little bit too quickly. But I hope that came across well. I think it's a good lesson when you're momentum trading to know that you do have bigger forces working against you, and consider who might be on the other end of some of these trades. Like, what are they trying to accomplish? Yeah. Like, if you're trying to buy a boatload of shares, it's not so simple as, I think it's a buy at $100, I'm going to sit on the bid. That's not how they operate when they want to buy 150,000 or 200,000 shares at a level. Like, you're not going to accomplish it. Sometimes you can do it, but most times you can't.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we've explained. I think that's a great explanation. Now we've explained this topic a few times over the past couple of weeks. Definitely, I guess it's a topic of interest to the chat. We always get that question, right, Neil? Oh, what is a lick grab? And I think I can remember just off the top of my head, just like what 4 or 5 times we've explained it over the past week. So definitely, this mechanic kind of happens. It's a natural occurrence, I guess, in markets, where just as Neil eloquently explained it right there, definitely a move kind of triggered or pushed by much larger players. And definitely, when I talk about the fugazi, part of the sidestepping of the fugazi is understanding what the bigger picture move can potentially be or is. And again, I don't know for a fact, but it's all just probabilities, right? Like, what is the likelihood of this happening versus that? And yeah, no, definitely a lot of lick grabs happening across the board. Some great ones in the past few weeks. If you go back and just look at a lot of large caps, even futures as well, you can see kind of where and when kind of lick grabs happen, where a move looks like it's doing something and it just grabs a piece and just comes right back in. Yeah, definitely kind of goes to the pushes on the point where like market likes to go towards where there is liquidity. And
one of the reasons I actually enjoy ranting on that, the thing about it is, if you date, like I've been doing this for a long time. Like Sean and I have been trading for like a couple of decades. Truth be told, like the amount of times that I've been like lost or rinsed on a liquidity grab and it just felt like an absolute sucker over the years. Like you learn the lesson the hard way. Yeah. Right? Like it just happened to me. And sometimes it happens to you and you're like, that was so obvious. How did I fall for that? But you fell for it, and the only thing you can do is kind of move on to the next and kind of get that lesson or take that lesson. Take it as a lesson learned. It is what it is. AMD here, bit of a bounce. I just noticed NVIDIA was bouncing. I see some people talking about the chips. And it's a bit of a double bottom. Maybe it's a trap because it just broke 105 for a second time. but this is still rounding off of this previous low. Like 105.5 looks like a little something. I'm just questioning if I don't like the short that I'm already in a little bit more. Thank you, D's Nuts. I just look like I don't age when I shave my head. I have plenty of gray hair, bro. Yeah, it is what it is. I think sometimes I feel the age, but not always. Oh, JB, how about Dollar General? So I'm not at the point that I want to join this short, but I'm looking at this AMD at this 105.5. But Dollar General, it's at VWAP again. Like this is the one today. Like if you can only go long, I suppose. I mean, you could always just go long and inverted something. Like an ETF. But if you're looking for longs, this has been your trade. It's been Dollar General for a lot of people, I suppose. It's at VWAP. The thing about this at VWAP is notice when it bounces off VWAP, it gets to VWAP, it shows you a bounce level or a consolidation, it holds. Like it's there for a while. I don't think you want to rush into this in a weak market. I want to see it go sideways off this level. Hold on to this 110. The real bottom's about 110.55, so call it 50. Hang on to this a little bit. Once you show me that, I'm all for this, that it can be a decent long trade. Yeah. That's what it's all about. Like I'm not even guaranteeing this is going to hold. Like at some point, even if you're a strong stock, you're up 9% going into the weekend on a stock which has been, pardon my French, but like dog you know what for like the entire year. It's down like 60% on the year. Well, probably like 50 something now, but yeah, the market holds these lows. I do like it, but if we break down, I need some confirmation on this Dollar General before I take it. I'm still looking at things that I can potentially short again.
Yeah, so I guess this short is working out. I was like, let's see how far we can get past that 130 because yeah, a little bit of a lick grab, 20 pennies above this this high from before, kind of comes in to this selling right here again. I just want to reiterate, like, I'm kind of reviewing some of these morning trades that I had, Neil, and I'm just like, bigger picture move, we kind of saw some strong signals to sell right out the open. Now, I was specifically looking at Amazon, NQ, and ES. Now, I'm sure that you can find similar stories kind of happening there in and around some of the other large cap names as well. I'm just eyeing Apple, Softy, Alpha, and I guess, yeah, just those ones for now. Amazon, of course, as well. But yeah, no, definitely strong reasons to sell that came in out the open there on Amazon. So let's just talk about that. Failure to follow through of pre-market high. 133 pushes through and can't really follow through. So yeah, we got long on the break. Failure to follow through, good reason to sell. Comes in, I'm like, okay, we'll take the bounce when it does come in on top of underneath that 132.5, and that's like the opening range there, and definitely reasons to sell come in. You can't get past that 133, so that's two steps right there. You fail to follow through the highs, 133 gets slapped, and then you fail to follow through on the retest from underneath 133. Definitely a good reason to sell. Now after seeing that, I'm getting aggressive underneath this 132.5, right? And then again, once again, a little bit of a lick grab. A little bit of a lick grab there, and then I cover everything, but here's the thing, strong reasons to sell, very strong conviction, and these sellers just step down periodically, right? I'm like, I'm getting the right signals to sell, getting the right information that's showing that sellers are clearly in charge and they're stepping down. Maybe I should be more aggressive on the shorts, Neil, when I do see that and not really fight for the long like this. So yeah, I'm definitely reflecting on that kind of action there, where like intraday strong sellers show you that they've stepped down at key levels incrementally during the day, and then giving you a great, nice intraday swing. So
that's what happens when it's one of these types of days, or the other direction. Like that's it. Like you're stair stepping to the downside, and that's what we're seeing a bit today. That's why I'm still with it. For sure. I saw Bears versus Bulls, whatever. I guess I suppose I should show this. It's fine. So in the middle of the day, we were talking about chess this morning, and anyone that was watching, we're talking about chess, and then Fabian and Ramin, because they're fun, decided that it would be jokes to tell me that I should get a new haircut, and then this was the idea. So a couple of things here. Obviously, I would never do this. Let's get that. And I'm not as young as I used to be. It would take me actually longer than you think to grow enough to be able to do those knots and actually get the pieces working. So it would just be, it would be a futile thing. 5,000 subscribers. I'm not doing it for 500,000 subs. You want me to do that to my head for 500,000 subs, Ramin? I mean, come on.
Pretty cool.
I mean, look, I am.
Pretty cool haircut. When
Anything
in your
I
life
say
can
I
you
would
say
do.
I've had a chessboard as a haircut. You know?
I'll do a lot of things for fun. I don't take myself that seriously, and I will do a lot of things for fun around here. It's fine. Like, I'll paint my face, I'll shave my head. That's maybe a little bit much. I don't, because I'd have to grow my hair out, then it would be a mess. I don't even know how it would fill out. I'm getting older, like I said. If I try to grow a fro, I don't know what it's going to look like
And
anymore.
soon enough, I'll be looking like
Really
Neil,
not
man.
sure.
Trust me, I got.
You got the flow.
It's here's the thing. I hide the fugets very well. So
Sarate, my friend. Sarate on the Pepitan. 5,000 likes and I have to get a haircut? Done. I'll just shave my head bald. No problem with that. I'll shave my head bald because it's Friday. What did you say, Ramin? Okay, so for the record,
Okay.
and this,
You
for the
heard it here first.
For the record, 500,000 subscribers and Ramin will shave her head bald. This is Ramin, everybody.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
What, you just said it? It's too late. What you just?
On my stream.
But you just said it. Okay, fine, whatever.
No, we have you. It's you know it's
YouTube is forever.
Yeah.
This is not going anywhere.
it's been recorded.
Because
The word is
originally I said
true.
to my friend, I'm gonna shave my head. So then I sent you that. The timing just worked out.
Okay, but 500,000.
Fair enough.
Somebody's gonna shave their head at 500,000. That's Ramin, everybody. We talk about our crew, we talk about our team, we talk about the family all the time. You usually see Fabian and Ramin sort of in the dark over there, just hitting a bunch of keys to making us look good or bad and all that nonsense. So I think that's not unreasonable. It'll grow back. I mean, you're young. It's a great flow. It's going to grow back. It'll be fantastic. Everyone will have a bunch of time there. What else we got going on here? Trying to go back to what the market, and I don't want to look at Shopify because I feel like I'm just going to. The revenge trade would be to say, well, this was the hump that you were thinking originally before you pushed the envelope at 51. Do I really just want to go for this again off the same level? The problem is it's above the support level. Do I want the trend short above support on a daily? I don't think so. I'm going to pass. What I do kind of like here is I'm still looking at this Dollar General. Oops, it's always a New York stock. DG. Hit enter a few times. Now it's starting to hold, right? So it gets in there. Apologies for that wick. Try to clean it up. It's still there. So you get in there. You hold that 110.50. Now you're starting to round off the bottom. Like, this is more the entry that I'm looking. Really? Oh, see. Now, if you put a bid in as it's going to the upside, and the second you put a bid, you get insta-filled, it probably sucks. But that doesn't mean it sucks, but it probably sucks. So let's just, I was going to have a bit of a wider stop. It's about a 3 or 4 cent spread at times. The spread opened up to about like 5 to 10. And let me just go to my level 2. I want to try to explain this if I can really, really quickly. That's the wrong direction. There we go. So DG, still a New York stock. So the spread sometimes opens up to 5 or 6 cents. So it was just breaking the 60 level. It got up looking like it was like 72 or something on the offer. I'm like, let's close the spread, bid in the high 60s as it was going up. Like, the second the gap got closed, like, insta-fill. Like, okay, well, that's not usually the way you want to get filled, is insta-fill in the bid. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's starting to go back to the upside. It's a strong stock. It's not super liquid. You don't usually want to, if you fill the gap, you're looking to have it sit there and then get filled. If it insta-fills you down, sometimes it's bad. Anyways, looks like it's going to go up. If we get up to like 111, like here, this is 111 quarter, that'll be first outs. So I'm looking for it to break 111. If we can consume it, if you can accumulate another time here, like there's one move, couple of green, held the low again. If it does that again, then I'll look to maybe get more shares. Like, I want more confirmation because that's what it did last time. We're getting a power hour. There's a bunch of time here. Derek S. Rivian's pushing? Really? Why is
Rivian pushing?
Rivian at the high today on a day like today? So higher for longer. Everything's under pressure. I mean, volatility's going up. Rivian that just raised a bunch. Like this is bouncing today. I mean, it's not green or anything, but like, why is it holding the highs? I don't know if there's a story specific to Rivian, but relative strength is what it is. So good look. You know, it is like, I'm in Dollar General as long because it happens to be strong today. Rivian is also strong for reasons unknown. So congratulations to them. I just don't know if I'm missing something on here.
So we're getting a bit of strength there, Neil, a bit of a curl. So I did two things right there. We had the shorts right there. I started piecing it off a little bit as we start to hold relatively higher lows. I saw that 50s were bless you. 50s were kind of holding, 50s, 40s, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm willing to get in short, but I do realize we have made a bottom at that 129 kind of being a key area as well. And you're getting this weird kind of chop and churn on ES and NQ where the range for the past, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so over an hour has just been sideways and very, very tight. Things might range around and chop around. So yeah, I just want to get in and out of that chop, catching those 20 to 40 cents at a time, just off of that chop there. But yeah, getting out when that higher low holds and we push back up into the 70s. I did add on to the short here, and as soon as it kind of rebid the 60s, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not really gonna stay in this too long here because the sideways picture. End of the day, sure, we could continue on the short side going forward. We still have about an hour and 4 minutes. But yeah, I'll be more than willing to kind of get back into the long if and when it kind of does present itself. It seems like right now that may have been a decent place as I was talking to get back in to the short there. But yeah, no, I am looking at the chart there. But the thing is, we had a lick grab, right? We had the lick grab happen, and then you can't make a high towards that lick grab. Sure, you have some buying pressure. I did get out of the position because of that. But as soon as we get into the 80s, you kind of get a little bit of a slap back down, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe we were a little too antsy on there on the cover, but you know what? Next trade, let's see where this action goes. Like I said, I still stand by my opinion a few minutes ago, where I'm like, if the NQ is going to be chopping and churning in and around this, I do want to be very nimble, as I don't have a core position that I'm trading into the end of the day. I'm just taking scalps, starting positions right now, right? So if we still had some of the positions from before, some of these shorts at some great levels from some of these higher, previously higher highs. Now they're high, no lower highs relative to where we are now, but yeah. So we're kind of going a little sideways. So I do want to get out of that a little bit as well. Let it chop around and let it do its thing here.
I have something.
What did you guys trade today? I'm curious.
Hang on a second.
What's up? It's a trap.
Like, I literally sneezed and my stop ran on Dollar General. Like, that was. And it was to the moment. Like, you guys were saying, bless you. I was looking up and I got stopped out on. Like, it just, you get into the long and it goes against you. This is why I should be like staying on target. Like, the market's bouncing a little bit here. And I'm watching ARM. This is level 2 of ARM. That 50 level, okay, so there's a bit of a bid on the 50 level. I know I said I wasn't going to do this trade, or I wasn't going to trade off this level and wait for it to break down. But that's not nothing. You got I don't know, 190,000 shares, probably 200,000 lit shares, and make the assumption that there's more shares underneath it. Into 5 million on the day, that's not a huge amount, but into the volume that we're seeing in the market right now, that is a pretty decent level on ARM. So I am now on this bid. It's the 4th time through. I really don't, if anyone's like, I wouldn't take it the 4th time, it's already given you the bounce. Like, you're really gonna get that 1% bounce again? I don't know. But I'm sitting here, I tried 2s, 3, I have 2, 3, and 5. I'm just sort of sitting on the bid. I don't want to compromise too much by chasing it, but yeah, I'm going to go for this ARM trade. Why not? At least you have a better level out there. Admiral Akbar, be a Wally? Yes, Admiral Akbar. I hit all the keys that I want. I'm a huge Star Wars person. I'm actually going to try and get my daughter to watch. We watched 15 minutes. She's 6 years old. We watched 15 minutes of A New Hope. And like that's been a bit of a battle, because I was about that age when I started Star Wars. I'm like, you're trying to get her into it. She's seen the Young Jedi stuff on Disney, but I want her to actually know the thing that Daddy is obsessed with, which is a little bit of Star Wars. So we're into it.
Actually, haven't seen any of like the shows, like the Star Wars shows on
that's
Disney.
acceptable.
Actually, no. You know what? That's a lie. Of course, I've seen Mandalorian, right?
I'm not as convinced it's the best.
I've seen Mandalorian. That's about the only one. I'm trying to remember. I guess Boba Fett as well. A little bit of that.
Mando's better than Boba Fett.
Yep,
I actually,
for sure.
depending on what you like, I actually thought that Ahsoka's okay, but I thought
I've heard good things
I thought
about it.
Andor was fantastic.
Really?
And again, some things about it sucked, but I love what they did with Rogue One, and Andor is kind of the same thing. Where Rogue One is in the Star Wars universe,
Yeah.
but it is a gritty war movie.
Yeah, it's like a standalone, right?
It stands
I
on
like
its
that
own.
one as well.
Andor stands on its own, which would not everything does in the Star Wars universe, which is cool. They don't do that a lot. It's a lot of recycling. Don't get me started on what Disney's done with those new movies, like episodes 7, 8, and 9, where they just tried to recycle a bunch of ideas and do some really terrible things with them, and that's why they kind of stunk. And it is what it is. What was I going to say? I'm also not caught up. Nobody spoil Ahsoka. I'm not caught up. My wife's in Germany for the week on a business trip, and we watched it together. So I have not seen the last couple of episodes of Ahsoka. So if anybody spoils it for me, I'm going to be in a kind of sour mood. I'm getting caught up this weekend. But back to the market, on the bid of arm. Power hour is here. Are we going to get a power move to the upside? I don't know if that's going to be the case. It has not felt like that kind of a day. PRZO is moving Mr. Longshots. That was a decent one this morning. Yeah, okay. Where is everybody like? Usually if something is doing this, there's like spamming of the chat. Is everyone like, is it a Friday thing maybe?
Maybe.
You guys are usually all over this thing when it's bouncing off VWAP at 250. Now it's like, hey, let's punch a double top at $3. No, not falling for that trap. Not going to happen. Into what? Overhead resistance? I don't think so. You want to catch a dip. That's a safer way to play this. Previous high was at that 250 area, so that's where the dip has been good. I think maybe it can step up into the 3/4. If I can see a bid in the 3/4 area, like I'd much rather that. VWAP's probably come and gone, but I don't want to punch this double top. It might be like a Hua Dunk or just a bamboozlement at this time of day on light volume. So I'd look for something that you can go dip by, run into the $3 level, just play a little bit closer to the chest for something like that. Like you don't want to be someone else's exit liquidity on a Friday.
Yeah. I just want to point something out here. Now, I've already talked to Neil about this, but we are back, baby. The VIX at 20. Oh, boy. We talked about the VIX kind of pushing 20, and I was watching the VIX early morning, and what was it? It was in and around 18s and 1850s. I was like, okay, nice. And we slapped the 20s. I was like, oh, boy, we're back again. Right there, kind of a retesting in the beginning of October. I was like, okay, we're finally pushing back into the 20s on the VIX. Maybe it's time for a nice juicy market right there. And we kind of fade off, got that reversion. We talk about that reversion being very high probability when it comes to volatility. But we're back at it. 20s tested this week. I like that going forward. Let's see what the VIX may have in store for us. Take a look at this, Neil, right? That pop on the VIX. Take a look at where we kind of turn. Right, almost to the T right there, kind of where volatility kind of starts to get back down. We take a pivot right in and around that same area there, in and around just underneath that 21 on the VIX. So I'm curious to know where we're going to go going forward in this month and
infinity and beyond.
Coming weeks as well. Yeah, definitely. We've seen what the VIX can do when it pops up above 20 to 25. Definitely, market is in play. We can see that with the fades we've been having all day, right? The market is definitely in play. We talked about like there are names that where risk is probably better put, and when the VIX is above in and around 20, the market is definitely in play in my opinion. Now again, this is not just my opinion. I've learned this from more seasoned traders as well. That when the VIX gets going, you might not want to look at everything that is quote unquote in play in a slow market, like news items and stuff like that. At this time, the market is going to be in play, and you're going to be able to leverage a lot more. ETFs are in play, the SPY is in play, things like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, definitely all in play with a VIX like that.
We take that top out, And that's when you want to start wearing the brown pants to work if you don't like shorting the market.
I don't know about that. I get my red underwear out for that one. We talked about that one.
You go either way. So RVMD. So I've been asked about this a few times in the chat. So they got like positive. It's a biotech company that had like a good presentation, right? Like without being an expert, which I'm not. Like I will not pretend ever. I just go yada yada pharma, yada yada bio when it comes to these kind of things. But obviously, a good presentation. You do have this $30 level, which it's having some challenge with, which makes a lot of sense here, right? Like this is, again, it's not a small cap garbage daily chart where you're looking for capitulation levels or, where the bag holders. This is not the kind of story. You're actually looking for like the more normal technical things. So you break out, you're rejecting the 50 period, which was a wide sort of accumulation zone from 29 to 31. That's the first thing I noticed, right? That's a $2 range in here, which when it was more stable, it was consolidating around a $2 range on a $30 stock. Then when it's going crazy like today, is it really that much of a surprise that when it gets to the top end of that range, it pulls back deep and goes more than 29? Now suddenly that 29 to 30 area is that support. So as far as I'm concerned, it's in the pocket that it wants to be between 29 and 31 when you look at the daily chart. So unless it breaks that high of the day, I don't know. It's not really doing a lot of volume. It would need to get above that 31 on the daily. Maybe present you with something on the dip at 29 or the 28 for support. Anything in the middle, I want no part of it. That's my approach. ARM's coming back down here. If ARM never fills this bid right in front of 50, this is going to be. Whoops! I just typed in ARM. Yeah, my drop down automatically went to ARMK, whatever that is. Whatever. It doesn't matter. This is ARM. If I never actually get these fills on the way down, this is going to be very boring because when I tried to pick it up on the way up, oh yeah, I have auto cancel on. So anyway, anybody that's not familiar with what auto cancel is, so auto cancel simply means if you have multiple orders to get in at multiple levels, once the first one fills, auto cancel fills the rest. I actually default to that just in case I do something stupid. And then if I want all the fills, I'll switch it off. I'm like a risk-averse kind of person in that way. Like I would rather make the mistake of I have 3 bids out there. I'd rather make the mistake of, oh, my first one fills, it cancels the rest. I'd rather have that happen to me than the alternative, which is I have all 3, don't necessarily want them all, but forget to turn auto cancel on and then get all 3 when I don't want it. So that's just a bit of a feature of day trade the world. I just got tagged at 5, but I was really trying to get, like I want 1, 2, 3. Like I have 1s and 2s now, but I did get something there at 5. So as it bounces up, if it gets into the high teens, I guess I'll take something out. If it gets to 50-50, like that's it. Like that's the move on ARM. I don't think you're trying to capture more than 50-50 on this. And now it's not even giving you 1s and 2s, so decent chance it could get there. Not a heck of a lot going on in terms of like wild movement, but you got some levels to work off here. And at least this is giving it to us. That PRZO, I mean, it kind of dipped. It just bounced off 3 even, but it's not really getting down into that 75 range. It looks like 280 might be the jam on this thing. Let's see. Yeah, it's not really even getting down into this level. It's just holding like 80, 85. The bid's starting to strengthen up. It looks like it's going to make a run at this $3. There's a couple of orders there at 99 and 3 even. So if it runs those, maybe it does like a false break, and then you get a chance at the better price. So I have my eyes on it. Hampton's Trader, do I really want to look at Shopify? If it's at the bottom, okay, so I think it was a good decision to get away from this. I would have just lost a second time, I think, on Shopify. I'd be in here, and I'd probably be already stopped out. Maybe I give it 5 more cents, but it's not looking all that great. I much prefer the risk to reward on ARM at this point, off that 50 level.
Yeah, just reading the chat here, Neil, Comp SRX saying Tesla short trimming impressive. Okay. Take a look at Tesla. Definitely an impressive move there. A bit of a continuation off that 270 reject. We saw how that 262 was a few days ago. That 262 breakout was great, and then it holds that 262 as support for a couple of days, and then yesterday we basically crashed through that level, close below it, and today we can't even get past this this end of day consolidation there, and then we get that straight quadunk back to the downside right there. A bit of a nice sell-off, kind of holding that 250 right now. So definitely, I think 250 is a great area to kind of interact with. We can see just looking left that 2 area has held both as kind of a resistance area and a support area as well. So maybe you want to be looking for potential reasons to buy if they do show up here. That's a nice trade there, Comp SRX. Definitely a good one. I also pulled up Burke there, Neil. I saw that Burke kind of faded off since its IPO. Yeah, Birkenstock. Yeah. So we faded off since the IPO. Been straight selling to the downside right there, holding that 36 for now. It is a Friday. It is the end of the week, the first end of the week that that Burke kind of IPO'd, and it's looking like this has had a pretty clean and nice fade. So I'm going to be continuing to watch this going into the close to see if there's any opportunities that may or may not present themselves. But I am watching this consolidation area right here, this 136.5. Just above it, and that 136 as well. Birkenstock definitely in play. Third day of IPO, maybe not the best day to play. A second day is probably nice. First day was beautiful, kind of sketchy, but definitely beautiful. Second day was pretty awesome as well if you had the shorts. But going into the last day before the weekend, on the first week of IPO, maybe we can catch a little bit of buying pressure going into the close. So that's the idea there. If the market does kind of do a little bit of a curl, maybe we can get that tailwind right there, Neil, on Birkenstock.
So shout out to everyone who is noticing the curl in the biggest and the baddest, and it's Apple. Nothing's up today, but hey, Apple is down less than the overall market, and when I say that, I mean the NASDAQ, because the ES is doing better. The ES is only down 0.4 because, I mean, the banks are having a good day, like energy's having a good day. We tend to look at big tech. So anyways, compared to the NASDAQ, Apple's having a good day. I'm right about that at least. But you're getting a chance to break out this bottom. I'm using the 15-minute chart so that you can see this top on Tuesday. Like, we had a close at 179. We had a top the next day at 179.80 or so. And you've had this support that just came in on that bond auction right around the 179.25 area. So like around the same area that you're breaking out from, or potentially breaking out from here at VWAP, is where there's been a boatload of support. And look, it's been key all day. Like, it struggled, it flushed through on a big volume, big candle wick there, 179.5, rolled over, resistance, resistance, resistance. If this takes VWAP, let's go. That simple. Like, if this gets above VWAP, I mean, is the market not going to follow along? Shorts want to cover. I mean, Meta's doing a similar thing, back above 315. Yeah, like this is go zone.
We just slapped. Look at that, Neil.
Yeah, okay, I just got trailed out of a firm. Just as I was talking about that, I'm trailed out of a firm. I am out of Intel there. Like, that's wild. Hopefully ARM can actually pump to the upside. Yeah, we just had a bit of a move. So you ring the register at some point. You have to. But like, just as we're talking about this, you're actually seeing some signs of strength. And if I'm going to join somewhere, first thought is that I don't like the long here off VWAP. That just bugs me. It's like I want it over I always want it over VWAP, or I want it going into VWAP. Right, so Meta's giving you 315 going into VWAP. Apple, but Meta's so weak today. Trade the stronger stock or trade the setup? It's always an interesting question. Yeah. Usually the answer is trade the stronger stock. Okay. So, yeah, that's not an easy decision, because Meta might set up better R&R off that 315 in a lot of ways, and if you fail VWAP, like, you're just having to tight stop it here in Apple. But Apple's been the stronger stock today, and it's at a pretty big level. So let's go consolidate this, and I think you can head to the upside. That Prozo, or yeah, well, let's call it Prozo. It looks like it did break that 3. I didn't get it. It never really dipped. It got to 308. There has not been a dip down in the 280 range, so it's holding the $3 level. That's worth watching there, as far as the small cap goes. But let's wet the proverbial beak. I could be wrong about this. I'm willing to acknowledge this could be a bad liquidity grab, and that Meta would be better. I'd just rather trade the stock, which has been relatively stronger in a lot of ways, if I'm going to have to take a long in this afternoon, which I see that break in the market, and I want a shot at it, even if it's with a tight stop. I'm going to get back on the bid. I get my stop in here because it could have been a look grab. I got my stop in, but ARM is now making that move. sometimes you have to adjust your plan of action and just do whatever the market's telling you.
Yeah.
And it was telling me you have, like, I mean, 50 on ARM, like, why not? Like, why would you not do this? And I'm just gonna get right back on the bid because, again, why would you not take this trade? A couple 100,000 shares on the bid, obvious support level. The psychological impact of this level breaking this early, maybe you have underwriters still defending this thing at 50. Like, the issue price is 51. Right, so this is key support for anybody who took the issue price. Like, if it breaks this level, you could see 45 next week. Going into earnings, I don't even know when's their first report. Let me just, I just realized I don't know the answer to that question. Hey, look at that. November 8th is their first report. Soon. This trades, I mean, when you got, like obviously this company's been around for a while, so they have numbers, you could look at their prospectus, all that good stuff, and have an idea of where they're at. Well, the PE at the IPO issue was over 100 times earnings. So what do we think happens to this thing? There's ARM, by the way. Okay, so long worked, obviously. But I feel bad about the stock. It's bouncing and it works, but I actually think the stock overall is a short because when they have earnings, if there's any kind of disappointment in ARM, I just think it's really nasty. If 50 breaks, you could see 40. And I'm thinking anything is possible with this. It was probably bamboozlement in Apple. I just got wicked out of my shorts. And then if this ends up being a bit of a trap, if I'm going to fall for a trap, well, I think in general, if you fall for a trap, I'd rather fall for it here and not chase it here so that if I'm stopping out there, or actually a little bit underneath it, if I'm stopping out there, you're just losing 25 to 30 cents, which is in the pocket of what I like for Apple, as opposed to losing 50 pennies. I'm not trying to lose 50 cents on Apple at this time of day. No, 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 no. Right? Like, it's just, that's not the way of the game. Like, in Apple, sometimes you can, but I'm not going to do it against the grain. If it's going to chop me up, fair enough, and I'll just go back to like a gimmicky thing which is actually going to work. And gimmicky thing which is working is just playing ARM off this level. Like, why even do anything else? Like, it's stupid. Like, you just reload at ARM at $50. That trade's been working the entire afternoon since 12 o'clock. You could do nothing else, and you would just made everything you need to and not even worry about what happens in the market if you just play this level.
Yeah, we're literally talking about a lick grab, Neil, and we got a perfect.
And then I just did it.
Lick grab, yeah, exactly. Especially on Amazon, there comes into that 130 kind of a key. We saw the lick grab happen, and then you stack the lick grab with the lick grab, and then you slap that 130, and you come quadunking right down through that 130. A little hesitant on the 130 ads, but yeah, no, definitely. Gonna pass it over to Brendo.
Another little one, guys. This company announced earlier in the week they are also going to be presenting. We've had a couple of biotechs today presenting positive data, but this one coming up next week, I was just reading 51.5% here for PCSA. Nothing really significant, little penny stock.
Like, it's like
that is an insta sell.
Like, look at that. Like, it's just, sometimes it happens. Like, we're just talking about liquidity grabs, and I still got into one in the wrong direction. It happens, man. I tell you, the best you can do is either A, get out, B, just make sure you don't have a ridiculously bad price. Like, chasing that move is where it gets dangerous. But where are you? If NVIDIA gets going, it could be next month. I haven't looked at, you know what, NVIDIA, I haven't traded it today. I thought what did I have here? 452. It didn't quite get there. Yeah, that's close enough on NVIDIA. Too late now. But you just saw what just happened in Apple. Like, really? You like any long at this point? After what I just saw, I don't know if I like any long, and it's in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not really seeing NVIDIA as much of a trade. Sanity's Eclipse. That's a really cool name. There's got to be a story for that. Nobody has a YouTube name like Sanity's Eclipse that doesn't have something cool there. If it's a reference to something, I have no idea what it is because I'm not really that hip. What is going on with Silk? Great R&B group. I have a couple of their albums at home. And they're fantastic. I don't know what the story is, why the stock is down, but if you're into R&B, Silk was pretty good. Freak Me was one of their good songs. So there is Dead Cat Bounce. Whenever I see the Huadunk, and I don't know what it is, all I care about is the setup. So if you ever see this, there is your initial bottom when ish hits the fan. There is your hold of the bottom. There is your higher low. Your breakout's already happened off of this level here. That's like 750. So it's technically already made the break of the bottom consolidation. The next step's to fill in the gap. The problem is, why is this not doing any volume? My guess is because nobody actually maybe no one cares about the stock. I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is. And a lot of times, like if something did that this week, I'd have an idea what it was. Like why did Silk Road move? I don't know. If there's a story there, I feel like it should have been doing more volume and breaking off that 750. That's the setup. 750 gap fill. So not a lot of volume following through there. It's a great setup, and sometimes this is more of it's kind of more of a swing setup, to be honest with you. Like breaking 750, you're giving it to like either this low or that low. But this market's really starting to come back in here. Should have just stuck with that short. I got out of my shorts.
A lot of shorts we should have stuck with today, Neil. Definitely going to be doing some solid reviewing over the weekend. Wow, I go for the cover and it takes me right away. Damn, we just talked about what that could potentially mean as well. But yeah, no, a bit of a just covering a piece of it right there into the lower end of that range. But definitely that lick grab, Neil, was absolutely beautiful. Again, a lick grab stacked on top of another one right there. So it comes in once and it comes in twice, and gives it to you real nice right there. Off the 130, slaps up a quarter, can't even get past it. I'm watching it. I'm queued up. We talked about those Insta keys I'm really missing from back at my desk there. This was definitely an Insta sell for me above the 130, but I chase it because I'm like, this is good enough to chase, right? Just talking to a couple of traders, like there are times to chase, there are times not to chase. Like, this is definitely one of those times where I'm like, sure I missed it, but definitely I do want to chase a piece of this because of the information that I just got. And yeah, we did chase a little bit there.
But that's it doesn't matter.
Not the best entry, but you know.
No, it's a fine entry because like that wick to the upside, like there's two ways to enter that trade.
It gave you time though. It gave you time to get in above.
Yeah, you could have got it, but sometimes you just the confirmation is when it reclaims a 130 level. Like it's the same thing that got what got me stuck into Apple with that stupid trade. A lot of times like that's your entry. It's a decent entry point. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I'm going to say this because I'm a stickler for this.
Yes.
Day trade the world, like you can actually save your layout in the cloud. So when Obi's like, well, my hot, like quick keys that I have at my other desk, I could set them up here. You can save your layout to the cloud and you can load it from the cloud here, and then it should work. And if it's not working, then if it doesn't work, I will personally put a ticket in if there's some kind of a glitch.
Okay, so here's the thing. So each of these, I've sat at both of those PCs and both of these ones as well. And whenever I upload my profile, all my chart and my layouts, everything uploads very well. But for some reason, not even all the keys, certain keys don't carry over.
That doesn't make it.
It makes no sense.
That's never happened.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I don't know.
See,
I'll try it again. I'll try re-uploading the layout.
I will personally put a Mojo ticket in if there's some kind of a glitch happening with your account. But I'm telling you that it's fantastic that way. It allows you to. It's not that you would be sitting at a million desks, but it's a pretty big convenience for us.
Can I specifically load just the keyboard layout?
I mean,
if I loaded the whole thing, like my layout is very different.
There is a way to do that, and I can show you how to do it. But like, I'm not gonna. If I explained how to do that, it's like
it's not really.
It's
I guess,
easy,
relevant.
but it's wordy, and you guys wouldn't care unless you're at Day Trade the World.
Yes.
So let's move on. Noah, if I move to Canada, can I participate in Day Trade the World? Day Trade the World is Day Trade the World. The only place where there's not offices in every single country, but there's like a few hundred offices in the world. There's no operations in the U.S. Like that's pretty much it. So there's multiple offices in Canada. I don't actually know how many. There's several in the GTA. Thank you very much, Fabian. We're here in Toronto. This is the head office floor, trading floor of Day Trade the World. But they're all over the world. Fantastic. On every other Thursday we have Luis, who owns the Barcelona office, and he comes on and talks a little about what they look at. They specifically trade small cap stocks. And that's their strategy on that floor, and they're everywhere. So you don't have to be, you don't necessarily have to be in Canada, but if you wanted to trade on this floor, I mean, we are in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where it is starting to get cold. And again, like, just why am I getting out of shorts? I should be re-entering these at these opportunities. I'm getting out, trailed out, and all it was a reason to get back into a firm here. I don't know what else is going on. That Prozo's not doing much to pique my interest. Yeah, I'm not giving up on the idea of these shorts. Let me just see if I can get back into a firm. I can probably get back in at the price I got out. Let's be real.
Yeah, I definitely like. I did have shorts, but those shorts were pretty short, so you can call them short shorts right there in the morning. But you see, you like what I did? Slow clap. I like that. Nice, getting some feedback. All right, so we did kind of come back in, but something of notice.
You're being sarcastic.
Yes, of course. Something of notice that 15-1 is holding as of right now, right? We talked about kind of this choppy consolidation where I don't necessarily want to deal with it. And then we did get the pop above it and then the failure to follow through. And I was like, yeah, good. That's a decent reason to get long, but let's take, decent reason to get short. But yeah, let's take a look at this right here, the NQs right there. So this is the chop that we've been kind of experiencing right here, kind of sideways. You do kind of attempt that break. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it right there. Take a look at that wick, very exhaustive wick of this range, and you come pop right back into the range, and you start doing the same thing again. So definitely some nice little structure action there. Quick break and a fail break. Coming right back in. I like that information. Let's see where we go and what we do with this 15-1, because clearly the top of this range was a little exhausted. Now we could still very well hold the lower end of this range, but I think the probabilities are maybe stacking to the downside. But again, it's the end of the day. Anything can happen. I forget where this. I think it's by it's in reminiscence of a stock operator. But he talks about how it only takes one trader, right? It only takes one trader. So at the end of the day, you can have speculations. You can be like, okay, these are the changing probabilities, but as soon as you get that what is it? A new card on the river.
Yeah.
The probabilities can switch up real
Everything
quick.
can change.
So that's also another aspect of like, sure, we can sit here and be like, okay, this is more likely than that versus this, or this information made this a little bit more likely. But at the end of the day, it's all random and anything can happen in the moment. And you have to keep that in mind as well. So
You know it if you folded aces. If you've ever been in, I play some poker, not as much anymore, but back in the day, and it's like, you know when you're in that situation where you know you're good, you've been good, and you know somebody's chasing, maybe they're chasing like an inside straight draw or just some utter nonsense, and you basically price them out of it, but they're calling you down anyways, and the river card comes. It's probably a miracle for them at that point, and then they do like a foolish thing and they shove on you, and you're just like, it is what it is. Like, things changed. Everything was lining up in your favor. Like, think about it yesterday at 1 o'clock. Like, if the market was just trending to the upside, I did jump back in at the same price on the firm. Like, if you're going to give me a chance to get in back where we got out, then you might as well just go ahead and do that. But if you're thinking about the market yesterday, like where we were at on the NASDAQ, everything was strong. You're into the early afternoon. We're breaking out the high after stair-stepping up all week. Like, you were right there trying to take out that high. And then a slight dip in a pullback, which could have been bought back up, but instead it was a dip into that bond auction, and everything changed. And if you tried to fight that move, like, no, you just had to fold your hand if you were long. I was in like 3 longs at that moment. You just had to fold your hand. You just had to get out of the way. And if you shorted it, better, fair enough. And yeah, limping with aces, there are spots to do all kinds of moves. I see people in the chat there. Like, there's a place for any move. I think you got to be flexible when you're playing any game of skill like that. But I just find like there's certain things that's like, why would you do that? Like, you're just setting yourself up. It's like it leads to all the worst things. It's kind of like averaging down without intent. Like, if your stop level is broken and you're averaging into it past your stop level, that's the equivalent of, okay, maybe it's not the equivalent of limping with aces, but it's not a good thing to do on a regular basis. And I've talked enough poker for the day, so we're back into a firm. Hopefully we can get to the low. You should be sticking with the shorts, yada, yada, yada. The short is your friend today. Unfortunately, it has been a free fall kind of day. I don't know if we want to call it a free fall Friday if we don't hit 2%. But thank you very much for this super chat, Sailor Moon. When Sean and you guys mentioned the 200, are you referring to the indicator 200 EMA daily or 200 SMA daily or 200 EMA intraday? Okay, so if I'm going to speak for myself here. If I say the 200 period moving average, then I am only talking about the 200 simple on a daily chart. Like, that is the only place I will be talking about the 200 period moving average. Now the 50 and the 2, I think you'll hear Sean talk about the 50 for sure on his intraday charts. I'm actually not sure. You know what? I don't like speaking for other people, and I'm not sure if Sean's 200 is also the simple or the exponential. So, I mean, I don't know. Just DM Sean or ask him on Monday. I'll try to remember to ask him as well. I think it's an important clarification because I never want to be talking about levels or something that matters to me. And they're usually subtle differences, but there's still differences. So if I say the 200 period, I mean the 200 simple on the daily, and that's pretty much it. My intraday chart, I got volume and VWAP. I have like some black charts that I look up here when I look up, and I'm not looking at the camera for you guys. I'm looking up at the charts that I'm following, and I have one chart where I like to follow like trend momentum. I'm not usually trading the name here, but I'm just tracking it. And a lot of times, like I'll have the 50, I'll have the 50 simple on an intraday only on this one chart. And then I'll have like RSI on it as well. But I'm usually just tracking this symbol. I'm not really trading it actively. Like the things that I'm more trading actively, I have relatively clean charts, and I want to trade off levels.
Yeah, so I got out of that short, Neil. Actually even added into it on this consolidation low break. And as soon as I saw some tape teleportation to the downside right there, 50s kind of was holding that shelf. And then you slap the 40s. And then all of a sudden you get down into the 30s. I'm like, okay, I want to get short on the break of this consolidation. And then no real follow through right in the 30s. And I'm like, oh, that was a nice stop run. But I don't want to get involved in the short if we're going to rip right back up. And also at the same time with the confluence, you got that 15-1 bounce at the same time. So I was just like, okay, good enough reason to get out of this. We got that 130 short covered into the 129.40s. Maybe you added some more. Maybe we were a little aggressive here, adding here. I definitely had reasons to kind of add in the 70s and 80s, but we punched the structure break, right? Again, we talked about I'm trying to build some of my trades in and around decision-making points off of the structure that the ticker or the market is showing me, and we've seen that 15-1 keeps on getting defended, and when we come crashing down into it and we get a little bit of a pop, kind of that support comes back in, and I see that happening on the failed break of consolidation on Amazon. Yeah, that's a good enough reason for me to cover as well. Now this move could continue back to the downside, but that is all she wrote for me for now on the sell, because I do not like that buying to be in the short. Again, how much time? We've got about 30 minutes left there, Neil.
We got the early look here.
Yeah, what's the early look like?
302 to the sell side, which is not a surprise. Individual names here, PBR. I've said this before, but if you're ever looking at a dual-listed Brazilian name, just never put too much stock in the NYSE imbalance unless you've seen what the stock is doing over in Brazil, if that's where its primary listing is. So I know that applies to Petrobras, so that doesn't really matter. I'm not caring about that one. Nothing over $1 million on the early look. I mean, BP, 600,000, that's not really anything. So the early look individual names, nothing. 300 million to sell on the big ones. I'm just in a firm essentially where I got out. So it's a new position, but really like it's kind of just back into what I think I should have held on to, and I like that low of the day. What else we got here? Why in the chat Pabst Blue Ribbon? Did I miss something? It's Friday. We used to do a thing where we'd have a brew on Friday, but we don't really do that anymore. And there was a time when the floor manager was grabbing some Pabst, but that's not really my choice. I like Innocent Gun. That's my favorite beer by a long shot. The rum cask. Innocent Gun. If you've never had it, try it. You probably enjoy it. If you're into beer, if you're not, then that's fine. It doesn't have to be your thing. What else is going on? CEI making some moves.
Ooh, CEI.
Yeah, right.
That's
the worst stock of all time.
it is a repeat offender.
No, statistically speaking, I think it is.
Is it? Is it actually?
No, I think it is.
Huh.
I mean, just.
I think CEI is great whenever you get that dollar test.
Well, you guys.
That's when I like to play around with it.
I don't remember the full story of all the dilution in CEI, but if there's a worse, you guys tell me if there's a worse stock than this. Those are Bs.
There was that other one as well. What about Cheapsake? CHK? Sorry, yeah.
Oh, no. Statistically, statistically CEI and the amount of, like, just for the whole game of, like, dilution and dilution and dilution. Like nobody did it more than CEI. You guys tell me if there's something worse than that. I don't think there is, man. I think this is the worst. Like look at it since the last split, and this is, I mean, it's split a bunch of times, but since this is just since the last split. Look at the weekly chart. Those are Bs. It is 40 cents right now.
Wow.
Like it just reverse split to end last year.
Oh, that's what
right
you
back
mean by
into zero.
Bs.
Yeah, like
Billions. Holy.
I
thought you meant like some sort of like events at the bottom, but no, B as in like billion beside the dollar. Damn.
I'm gonna make a statement. You guys tell me if this is true. Do you have a better chance if you had the absolute high of valuation in CEI in its history? Do you have a better chance of winning the lottery? I'm not talking Powerball like a normal lottery. Better chance of winning Powerball or CEI getting to that top? Back to that top. I think when I look at that weekly chart, which I'm going to show you again, just to make a point, I'll take my chances at Lotto Max before I think this is doing this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not. I forget the actual story here, but these are like.
How many times has that been split?
I don't know how many times it's been split. I just know that it's like it's like the most guilty thing ever. Like it's ridiculous. But it is making a move today, so like I'm not gonna discount 30% because you know what? All that is nonsense if you took a 36 break and are now just chilling 15% in the money. Then who gives a rat's you know what? Like you're banking your profit, you're laughing, you're ringing the register. Don't do this. Remember the chart we just showed? Eventually. And eventually, like maybe it goes to $1. I'm there for you when you get to $1 CEI. Shorty.
Yeah, it'll hit $1. Maybe a reverse split. Maybe some pop in action. Like I don't know.
I promise you this: if for some reason this stock is always, I don't know why it's never been delisted. I don't understand that. But if it gets above $1 in compliance again, like what do you do if this gets to $1? Try the short underneath again. If it reverse splits to regain compliance, what do? You just look for the short. Right? Like I don't think it's that complicated. Mullen is 4,500. Yeah, Mullen's pretty crazy too, but I think CEI is an order of magnitude. Recently on Mullen, it's absurd. Oh yeah, I got to point this out on Mullen, by the way. Look out for a short that we're going to have coming out next week or over the weekend on this setup, but now I'm going to spoil it for you. Look at Mullen. Reverse split. Find bottom, little bit of a bounce. Reverse split, triple bottom now. Triple bottom on Mullen. Alert, does it matter that it's a 200 period? No, because this chart's not split adjusted, so ignore those. But you have a triple bottom here underneath 40 cents at 38, which could be breaking. Would I short it at 337 on a Friday? Probably not. If Mullen breaks 37, will I short it on Monday? Answer is yes. I have no idea what the locates are, so if the locates are too expensive, the answer is no, but you know my intention here. Flat bottom break like this, short it. If it splits again, short it till it makes a double bottom, then go long, and then look for the short after that. So it is what it is. These happen over and over again. PRZO is now going. It never set up for me. It sucks. Yeah. Congrats if you got that one. I just didn't take it on Para-Zero here.
People have been, yeah, what's going on with,
no, it did set up.
Prazo? Prazo? What's happening?
Oops. So what did we say about Para-Zero? Don't play the breakout. Let it fail 3. Okay, so it didn't go to 275. So it didn't actually go where I wanted it, but it kind of went close enough. Like it's a distinction without a difference. You could have this in the low 80s, in the mid 80s to be sure, and then this might be a little bit of a quadrupling. So when this happens, when it fails the top and pulls back in, like what do you care if you have 85s? You've taken some profit, 5 to 7% upside. And then you can be holding on saying, yeah, when everyone's getting scared, I'm just taking profit. The top end break is dicey because you need very specific things to happen in a short period of time for you to win on that trade. Speaking of which, the market could do something other than going sideways, and I'd be happy with that at this point. This is crazy. Play the Lambo Max graphic. Sure. I'm assuming you're long Para-Zero at like $2 if you're calling it a Lambo trade. Like it's not a Lambo trade here. It's a good trade there. If you're long it like yesterday, that's pretty solid as well. But that's a good one. It was a good call on ARM, but I didn't. Candidly speaking, I was mostly bidding 1s and 2s. So like that's where it printed 5s. I was bidding 1s and 2s, and I actually think I had a 3 in there at one point, and I didn't get those fills. I can go ahead and cancel them now, but what else are you gonna do? Like nothing is free money, but when you notice something, like you gotta go for it. Like Sharif was all over this in the middle of the day. This was the lunch money idea off the $50 level. So you notice there's just a big ass buyer on the bid. It's the low on the daily chart. Like what more do you need for confluence here? Does that work, confluence?
Yes, of course.
So you got the 50.
My Stream Deck is not working, or else I would have hit the bang for you there.
I appreciate it. You have the 50 level on the daily. You have the all-time. Look, it's an embarrassment to the underwriters if the level breaks. So why would they let this break on a Friday? You have options expiration, and obviously you can trade options with this thing. So bounce off. You have like a million reasons why a bounce off 50 is a good trade, or at least a good opportunity on a Friday. So there you go. I didn't hold on to it because I said 50 to 50-50. So creatively enough, take some out at 25 and take the rest out in front of 50, which is about as vanilla as you can execute there, right? So you want to make sure you're getting out when it makes sense and not panicking out when it's working. But it would have been nice if I could have reloaded. I've canceled my bids because it's 340 now. So obviously, we're running out of time. We do have lunch money at 12 o'clock every single day. That's how we roll. This was a lunch.
I was like, whoa, did we just go back in time?
No, but this was one of the lunch money ideas of the 50 long. I was actually sitting at the desk the first time it bounced, which meant I wasn't here, which kind of sucks, but that's what we roll around here. That's what we do for you guys. And all we ask is that you know what, I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to hit this one because I don't know where she is, and I think she might have left for the week.
Hola, like and subscribe today.
I think Kat might have left. Oh no, her jacket's still there. I'll tell you this much: like, Katrine works so hard, she never even eats. Her lunch is completely untouched. So, if anything, hit the like and subscribe for her. Hit it for Obi, who's doing a fantastic job. Hit it for Adara and Sharif, who crushed it on the midday show. Hit it for Brendan, who, as usual, crushes it with the news and with the guests that we had today. Like, how wild is Peter Schiff, right? Of all the days to have Mr. Schiff on, like that's it. And we're going to have the NOS boss coming through on the market recap. So I'll be doing it in lieu of Sean, and we're going to have the NOS boss. We'll do some trader talk. We'll do all the things that you guys love. What are we going to, what else we got? I mean, we're giving everything for you. Follow us everywhere like it says to do over there. And when the imbalances come at 350, maybe the market will actually make a power move back into the downside and quadunk so the shorts can pay off once again. Peter Schiff woke up and chose violence. A great reference there. But, hey, you saw what the market did the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? For everybody out there, there's a lot that gets said when you have a strong-willed guest. But there are some comments, as I was listening, like there are some comments about the nature of debt and the amount it's going to cost to service the debt. Like, I don't think, like, that's just indisputably true. Like, if you tell me that within the next 2 years, which is what it's showing, that the U.S. is going to be paying more to service its debt than on defense spending, you guys spend a lot of money on defense. That's not nothing. And I understand everybody's in the same boat, but how much better does that make it if everybody's in the same boat? A little bit better, but it's not great. It's not great. But at the same time, like, whatever, I'm invested in stocks. I'm not really giving them up either. So, yeah, there's some perilous things. But just trade the action and be smart and diligent, all that good stuff. If we're not going to quadunk, then I'm going to take what the market gives me here begrudgingly. Yeah. So instead of getting filled in the 80s, maybe I just have to take something where it is right now. What else we got going on here? We're at 1.4 to the downside, so things are tanking.
We broke that 15-1 there, Neil. So I got in short. So I got in short again. Right there, again, lower high. We saw the lick grabs. Can't really get past that 129.8. I'm like, okay, short. Fails to follow through. Right side of the move now. Short some more, and then that 15-1 cracks, and we start getting some quadunks to the downside there. But we saw how that 129.30s was defended. And then that 129.50s was that consolidation kind of shelf range low there as well. And then on that sell-off, you come right into that range low and kind of stall a little bit there. So I'm like, a few more minutes, 7 more minutes till the inbound comes out. So thank you, come again. I'll cover right there. That's fine. That 129.50 still holding for now. Let's see where we go.
I like
if
it.
that sell inbound is going to be a sell, if that inbound is going to be a sell, then take a look at that, Neil. We're quadunking quite heavily. So yeah, I didn't want to hold that short into the inbound, but it seems like that is the direction we're going. Neil even said, what was the inbound for the sell? How many mil?
302 to sell.
302 mil to sell. So a little bit bigger than what we've seen. We've seen some pretty bleak numbers coming into the inbound throughout the week. I think there was a couple of days where it was just a few mil, under 10 million. And then all of a sudden on a Friday, you get 300 mil, a little bit of a relative difference on the week. Let's see how that kind of prices in. We did get that 15-1 crack off of that kind of a consolidation range on the NQs getting broken, but that could very well just be a lick grab because we're not really following through off of this low. Sure, that 15-1 was being defended, but you had that bit of a pull into that 1590, and wow, take a look at that. Still going to the downside, breaking all the levels, but that 129.30 is still holding there, Neil.
I'm also just confused as to why I'm smiling in a picture of me getting flushed down a toilet. Literally the opposite of what any normal reaction would be in that situation. I took what's going to give me, if certain things are breaking down, but I look at this is AMD, barely moved, Affirm, right? What's that? A 10-cent move. I'm only capturing 7 of it. It's not going crazy. You're getting a small dip, but in the grand scheme of things, it is a small dip, and you're still inside the range. Even if you take 15-1, we haven't broken these lows just yet. Now you do have less than 5 minutes of the imbalances. And when it gets this tight to 350, it's as simple as stops tighter, take profit out, and that's going to be it. So I don't know if I take another trade before 350. I'm also going to be jumping to the desk a few minutes early just so I can get prepped up there. I'll be close the show. But speaking of the desk, let's go to it and take care of some business.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
There you go.
Yeah. So we're still chopping around there. We're kind of reclaiming that 15-1. So that's why I wanted to step away because, like I said, we didn't have significant follow through. If we've been churning this range for the past, almost four hours there, Neil, as we kind of started this in and around lunchtime. Actually, give it 3 hours. We started around 1 p.m. This chop and churn kind of action there, and you finally break it in the last 15 minutes of the close. And there's no follow-through. So, yeah.
None.
Yeah, no follow-through. So that's fine. If it's going to chop and churn, we're probably going to close around here as well if that's going to be the case. But let's see. Let's see what the imbalances in 4 minutes bring. That could be some significant moves there. I am watching Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google as well.
For the record, IG should do IG should have some kind of a Halloween thing where I get to dress up as IG-88. And if you know Star Wars, you know what I'm talking about. And I get to dress up as a killer droid, and then that'll be the promotion for IG right there. One of the coolest, Star Wars is the only place where you can have literally a hunk of metal. It was a hunk of metal in a scene that didn't do anything, and people thought it was so cool that they created a backstory for it, and now there's just it's in.
Wow.
Actually, that
people get busy with the lore, basically.
It was in the Mando, IG is actually in Mando and that kind of stuff. So just understand, basically in one of the movies, if you haven't seen them, I won't spoil it for you. He literally is just standing there next to Boba Fett. Nothing happens. And then that's it. It's yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's turn it into something because people like me are obsessed with it. And then we buy Lego and all that stuff and spend money. ARM is absolutely flying. If you want something at power to the upside.
I like that one. Nice.
Yeah, that's a reason to be happy. Right? You get a power up like that. That's a this has been a great level at 50. I don't think you get away from this. I think next week, if you're still finding this as support, just go for it. I feel like CART gave you a couple of days. Let me just I'm pretty sure this is true. So the $30 level on Instacart, it did give you a couple of days of bounces off of 30. It wasn't, okay, yeah, maybe you got a couple of days and that was about it, but it was okay. When it finally broke though, when Instacart gave up 30, it was not pretty and it's still not pretty. So I want to get that out of the way right quick. I don't think you want to fight ARM if it cannot hold on to this level. If this goes Maybe it's a trap the first time. I'm still going to spring it. It's kind of like that Shopify, right? Like I will be in pretty much every chance I get for that flat bottom break. And then if you lose once or twice, it is what it is. I do not want to miss that opportunity. I kind of think of it this way. Like, are you willing to take a few paper cuts just in case, like, the flat bottom break resembles something like the 20 break on a firm, like there, like you want those. Like when this stock breaks out or breaks down, like you want that. And when you get a flat bottom break, you could get that kind of explosion where you're just falling face first into a dollar move. Like you'll hit bid enter and it'll be $1 in the money for you. I've seen it before, and I want that. If and when it happens on ARM, we are going to have the imbalances come through in about 30 seconds. I'll be locked and loaded for that. I'm only in the firm. I'm not going to add to anything else. Ponzi, yes, Spaceballs is a classic, man. We need ludicrous speed to the downside. Otherwise,
we
it's
got
gonna be a
that.
boring.
We're like at the end of the day, we got that ludicrous speed relative to where we were in the morning and over the past couple of weeks. So
Fair enough. I guess we did. I guess we did get that.
VIX
move.
is at 20.
I wanted more, but here come the imbalances. I didn't get rid of that early look thing, so you'll have to see. NVIDIA to sell. I don't see that on the top of the list very much. 600,000 to sell on NVIDIA. We don't care about CBHT. We don't care about Comcast either. Goog, 500,000 to sell. Intel, that's very small. Who cares about that? Palantir, 400,000 to sell. Not very big at all either. So it's not gigantic, but it's adding up to 1.6 billion to the sell side. So 1.6 billion to the sell side. Nothing stands out individually with the exception of NVIDIA. What did I say? 600,000 on NVIDIA. That's not chump change. Notionally, that's a pretty decent level. It's not really doing much. So unfortunately, nothing too crazy. Any oil or energy stocks on the imbalances? I didn't see anything when I scanned. And if none of those names are over a few 100,000, then that's pretty useless. Yeah.
I guess NVIDIA is the highest one I see on the NQ, right? And
on a quick scan, I'm not really seeing anything notionally.
Yeah, no, nothing too crazy across the board there. What's this SWN? I have no idea what that is. But no, Pfizer's up there on the NY.
Yeah.
You also have Intel and NVIDIA also kind of topping up there as well. But nothing too crazy.
You have it so nicely sorted.
Significant.
By market. We should show yours until I do something that nice. Like, look at OBs, man.
Sure, I can pull it in right here. So we have the NYs right there, and we got the NQs right there as well. So yeah, a little bit of sorting going on. So Pfizer's up there. We see NVIDIA, Intel is up there. Grab, I don't know what that is, but QCOM, Google, and actually not Google. This one is the Goog.
Yeah, it's Goog.
This one is the Goog.
For everyone that doesn't know, like the reason why we say, well, I don't say it, but the reason why we trade Goog-L, G-O-O-G-L, is simply just the two different classes of shares, and Goog-L does more volume.
Yeah.
Hard stop.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Class
just
A
that
shares.
simple.
But here's a funny thing, Neil. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me. I find that the Class C shares, I like charting on it much better. I think it's just a cleaner.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know what it is about it, but I
don't know if that
figure
makes
it out
sense.
either. No,
They're way too close in price.
The levels come in, but I think identifying certain levels comes in a little.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because so it's probably like if more people are trading Goog-L, then you're probably going to get a few more wicks and stop outs on it, whereas it might be a cleaner chart on Goog because not as many people are getting executed.
So when real money pushes into the Goog, you know. It's almost like something standing out in a field.
That's actually pretty smart. Actually, I
don't know. I think maybe that's the reasoning why I find it a little easier to chart on the Goog versus Google. But Neil is 100% right. It's not like I'm not going to be like specific prices to the penny. Not always, but no, it's always going to be like an area of interaction that could potentially come in there. Take a look at that 15-1. We reclaimed it, popped right back into the range, Neil. So it seems like we're just going to be closing very likely well within this range. So because not a lot of these names have gotten any sort of real action off of this. Maybe Amazon popping back into that 130. Take a look at that. If that breaks, that's definitely gonna bring in some buying pressure. We saw what that pressure looked like, and as I say that, it is happening. So let's see where that goes to. I am pretty much done for the day here. No real trades on the board there. I did think of like, okay, we had reasons to buy, right? That reasons to buy, those reasons to buy are coming into fruition right now as we retest that 130. But being in the short, reasons to buy means cover. So yeah, so that we do get that nice chop in the range. So coming in next week, Neil, I'm definitely going to be watching this end of day range, how tight it was between this 130 and this 129. I'm going to give it to the 30s. So 129.30s to 130. We know that players were there at the 50, kind of a hold as well. But yeah, no, see, look at that chop and churn just within the range. So not really getting anywhere, a bit of a sideways action. Maybe just pricing in some of the imbalances as well for anybody who is taking that trade.
Just
yeah,
quickly before I get out of here,
what's going on?
Two things. NEO was not on the imbalance, not to what I saw, but it did make a big move to the upside. I checked. I didn't see an imbalance as to why it was running, but made a decent-sized move, got green, held green, got to 850, and just turned around there. And the other thing is, wow, like that. Like if you're like next week, if we're not caring about ARM at $50, we're not doing it right. Really should have been. I could have been more aggressive. I thought it was going to give. It was giving you exactly 01s, 02s, and 03s before. So I don't think it was the wrong decision to be picky about wanting to get right in front of the level. That's a gimmicky trade. And when you make that trade, you want your maximum size to be at 1s and 2s, not at 5, because I'm risking that 1 or 2 cents plus slippage. But overall, it was a much bigger trade than anticipated. So great one, obviously. We'll come back to that level next week to be sure. Darwin, hey, maybe you're right. Like a lot of times, those types of moves are who buying the stock up. Although this late in the day, hey, maybe it is just a relief rally. It could be something legitimate on NEO. It's been in need of that. Oh, and I wanted to also just quickly say that Pair Zero held $3, continuing higher. This could be an aftermarket runner. Look very strong into the close. It never really give you that gigantic pop, unfortunately, but definitely a good look there on PRZO. I'm going to be at the desk, so you're going to see me in a few minutes, joined by Mr. Nos in the middle. We're going to have the update, the recap show as usual. Will be close it off, and I'll see you in a few.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we are coming to a close on the day. It's been a pretty wild week here. The market's selling off, popping, crazy volatility, market newses, CPIs, JOLTS numbers. We got a little bit of everything there, but we did kind of sell off. So I do want to take a look with everybody at the weekly charts of everything before we kind of sign off. So you know what? Let's start off with the top name in the market right here, Apple. I guess ideally you want to start off with the ES and the NQ, but you know what? We'll start off with the Apple right quick first. So okay, so yeah, 174. We talked about how that 174 was interacting.
I still have
a few weeks ago. You get that lick grab on a larger time frame this time of the 174, and then you rebid right back through it. So now whether the dominant trend is to the downside or is it to the upside? Who knows? But as of right now, we kind of established that 174 was a level of interest, and we kind of popped back above it. We're making a wick top on the week. That is, I think, definitely something to note as well. Let's see what Softy is up to real quick. Now, again, let me know in the chat if you guys have had any significant trades this week. What has been your best trader? We can take a quick look. We only have about 3 minutes left, but yeah, we can take a quick look at some of those names as well. But I'm going to quickly go through the top 5 names at least. Similar story here on Softy. You kind of have that exhaustion wick that happened kind of mid-July there, and we've only made lower highs and kind of holding underneath that 330 as well going into next week. That'll be interesting to see if whether or not that 330 stays as a resistance or not. Okay, next, so we'll go to Amazon. Amazon, kind of a chop and churn there. Yeah, a lot of lines, a lot of lines that don't really mean anything anymore. But relative to kind of this attempt at the 200, we did come back down into the 100 over the past year. And then all year, this year, we kind of pop right back up and kind of consolidate underneath this 150, kind of going sideways. Amazon relatively weak in terms of the bid up that we've had on a lot of tech names this year for sure. And then we'll just check out Google as well. People talking about Mara, people talking about Path, GDX. Okay, nice. TO top. I haven't heard that one in a while. But okay, so yeah, Alpha as well. Almost makes it back up to near highs. Very strong. I think it's one of the stronger ones out of all the tech names. Holding a nice clean trend to the upside, but we are getting a little bit of a wick on the week. Let's see what we do kind of with this week range going into next week as well. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these names you guys kind of mentioned in the chat. Okay, so I guess PXD, I know that one has some news with XOM, I think. Pioneer kind of getting, or XOM acquiring Pioneer, I think, as well. So we did get a bit of a pop off of that. I think the week has been quite interesting there on the PXD as well. So yeah, decent, nice trading off of that buyout news there as well. I know people talking about PRZO, but yeah, no, with less than 30 seconds left to go, I hope you guys all had a decent trading week, a decent trading day, green or red. Hope we all learned some important lessons, as trading is always going to be a little bit of a journey there. But yeah, okay, you know what? I'm gonna hit the timer right here for Adara. So 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Timer. I was a little late on the timer. But yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you to Fabian and Ramin, our awesome production team as well. Mark and Rob always helping us out. Thank you to Brendo. Can't do it without him. Thank you to Neil and Sean for sure. Thank you to Brankles and Wayner in the back for sure. But and thank you all for spending your time with us this week as well. So again, signing off. We'll see you next week, but don't go anywhere, because we're sending it off to the big desk with Neil for the market recap.
Yes, sir. It is your market.